Some say he's a technical whiz. Some say he was born in Cornwall. While some say that he's on a journey. It's The Journey, and here's your host, David Hackett.
Our guest today on The Journey is the founder and lead instructor at Peaceful Living, a boutique hybrid studio that conveys a delicate and personalized instruction through customized Pilates, meditation, and yoga classes. Our guest's core focus is on redefining people's relationship with stress, with offerings like 5-minute Zen breaks or custom-tailored approach to stress relief and lifestyle shifts. Our guest walks alongside clients, individuals, and businesses to implement daily routines such as a meditation practice to aid in clearing the clutter from our minds and ease the weight of what we are carrying, both mentally and physically. So we'll talk about a business, but today we will welcome our guest, Roberta, used to The Journey.
Thank you for having me here today, David.
It's okay. Now, I always say this as a joke to break people in and make people feel at ease. But what's your earliest memory possible that got your journey going? And now the joke here, and I've made it a long-standing joke now. Yes, we was born. That's the earliest memory possible. But what was the journey starting point for you in your journey?
I think the starting point for me was the way that I was raised by both of my parents. My mother was very nurturing and my father was very structured and responsible. And having the two of those combined in my upbringing really gave me a strong foundation of what it feels like to take care of yourself, what it feels like to manage the things that happen to you in life, what it feels like to have work that you enjoy or work that you're dedicated to, and that work could really look anything like you and what you want it to be.
And I do like that because having a sort of theme structured around being structured and having that stability does give you a good basis to start somewhere. Now, I'm not saying everyone has that, but somewhere along the lines you do, and it is a good starting point to be with your parents in that structure.
Absolutely. You know, within a structure that feels safe, that feels contained, that feels a little predictable, I think all of those things are good for children to have in their earlier years, because when things at home feel that way and there's a sense of safety and ability to be loved and cared for, you can really do any of the things that you love to do as a kid. You can have creativity, you can play, you can make friendships and relationships and always come back to that safety of home. So when life happens to you as a child and your feelings get hurt or situations come up, having that secure home to come back to and get some support, get some nourishing and nourishment gives you the skill set to then go back out into the world and solve the problems that may have been hurtful or not turned out the way that you wanted them to.
Yeah, and when you become certain ages, obviously in life, as a teenager for most of us, it gets redefined again, and the rules and structures do alternate again because it adapts to your age.
It does. And I remember as a teenager, really, I still had that structure, but I kind of resisted and revolted against it. I didn't like having the boundaries. I didn't like having the rules. I felt like I wanted to make my own decisions. And I can now appreciate having that structure in place because it kept me from being inauthentic, from making choices that may not have been great for me, that I didn't realize in the moment as a teenage girl.
So obviously you grew older, and then it said, as it said in the email you sent to me, you was the founder and lead instructor at Peaceful Living. Now, this is now. How
This
did
is
that?
now.
And this is how did it come about?
So moving on from my teenage years, I went to college and took my first yoga class in college and thought that I was going to be a business major, which ended up not being the path that I took. Instead, I found my way into the College of Journalism and Public Relations and graduated with a degree in journalism with an emphasis in PR. But then right after I graduated in May of 96. I got married in June of 96. And then I had my first baby in May of 98 or August of 98. Sorry. So things started to move very quickly for me from the point of when I graduated to college to becoming a mom. And my ex-husband was in the military, so we started moving around, and all of the structure that I had growing up felt like it was turned upside down, because in the military, you're moving, you're changing households, you're waiting for a home. So lots of uncertainty, lots of unpredictability, lots of stress. And because I was a military spouse, the degree that I had gotten in journalism was something that I really couldn't pursue because I was moving around so often. So I always continued from that one yoga class that I took in college to have a personal practice. And I used that personal practice leading up to the delivery of my first baby. It helped me recover from the delivery of my first baby. It helped me to manage not only the physical stress, but the emotional stress of becoming a mom and finding times and ways to nourish and rest and take care of myself during those early stages of motherhood. And throughout my lifetime, I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 this July. I now have two grown boys, ages 20 and 24, and I'm a bonus mom to two boys that are ages 14 and 9. Life is still busy, and these are the practices from yoga. I included some meditation training, and then I went to get a Pilates certification as well. So these three things throughout the span of 24 years have been the tools and resources that have kept me feeling that sense of structure and nourishment and nurturing that I received as a child.
Yeah. Now, obviously, in the initial stages, it was okay, and then obviously the pandemic occurred. Did you find it easier to do things online with your clients, or was it much harder because you wasn't hands-on with them?
You know, not being hands-on wasn't a problem. And I think that really is attributed to my Pilates training. In Pilates, we learn to teach and train with our voice more than our hands. And using my voice and knowing that I was able to direct people in a way that they could hear and visualize and understand, that was a place of confidence for me. The part that was the learning curve was all of the technology. So during the pandemic, when I was no longer in the studio in person with people, it took about 6 weeks. And then, you know, my mom was telling me how sad she was that her yoga studio was closed. And she had been taking yoga this whole time since the time that I started taking yoga. So I knew how special it was to her. And I thought, well, what if I just get online and start teaching yoga? So I did this on Facebook Live, completely free of charge throughout the pandemic. I taught 3 days a week and just showed up and did yoga classes. And over time, you know, I started to attract old friends from high school were coming to my class. Moms of some of my friends were coming to class, and I couldn't see any of them. but I would get pictures afterwards of them on their floor, on their yoga mats with their dogs, telling me that their knees didn't hurt anymore and their backs felt better. And that was just a really rewarding experience. And through that time, as I got a little bit more savvy, if you will, with the technology, I had purchased all of this audio equipment prior to the pandemic to be able to deliver yoga nidra sessions to large groups of people. And so I had this audio equipment and I thought, well, what if I just start recording the audio as I'm teaching these Facebook classes? And so I did. And my son, who's now 24, and he has autism, he is incredible with video editing, audio editing. So he and I sat together and it was wonderful to spend this time one-on-one with him. And we would edit down the classes to take out all of the extra that wasn't really needed. And then I started filming myself doing the classes. So now I have these polished videos on peaceful living where I am basically taking the class that I've taught from Facebook in a way that people can see the instruction, hear the instruction, and do that from the comfort of their home.
Yeah, and you touched upon your son being autistic. It's
Yeah.
amazing because it gives them that something positive as well, because autistic people as a whole struggle to understand many things, but when they get something they're passionate about, it gives them the real excitement.
Yeah. And my son is an incredible human. He is very high functioning on the spectrum. And I would say his understanding of many things is vast and deep, but his delivery of that into the world isn't always recognized and accepted by typical people. So that's where the struggle really comes from, people not being able to see his gifts and his ability to make a big difference in the world.
Yeah, and you've given them that chance, and is it rewarding to see that as well from a mother point of view as well as a listener and viewer point of view listening to the story now? It's rewarding to hear that autism does get recognized by the people who do see it and understand it.
Yeah, neurodiversity, I think, is a new terminology that people are trying to embrace. And because it is so new, people don't understand how to embrace others who might have a different perception of the world, a different way of processing the world, and a different way of contributing to the world. So the more we can inform and educate that not everyone's brains work the same way, that we do have this diversity in how our brains receive and deliver information, I think in time that it will become a more inclusive society.
Yeah, I totally understand and agree with that. So, peaceful living, it says it grants clients a way to filter out life's pressures through a delicate and highly personalized approach through its live streams and on-demand classes. Its nurturing and customized approach guides clients who decide to change their relationship with stress. And in this space, you filter out the clutter, granting people a welcoming space to reconnect with yourself and others. And it goes on to say, this past last year, you was chosen as a top 15 finalist in the 2022 HOTWORX Virtual Instructor Competition. And HOTWORX, if anyone wants to know, is offering sessions in yoga, Pilates, Barre, and more in an infrared sauna to encourage detoxification, stress relief, and healing. And it says you team up with HOTWORX again for debut of its new brand, SolSpa. Can you tell us a bit about SolSpa?
Yeah, so SolSpa is the sister brand of HOTWORX, and they just launched their flagship location in Louisiana in Slidell just before the new year. So they are now fully open, or no, it was 2023. So in 2023, they launched their flagship. in Slidell. They were able to grand open. They were ready and waiting, but they had to get all of their permits in place. SolSpa is a unique approach to self-care and wellness. It offers a variety of services that you can come to 24 hours a day. That includes infrared light for your face, a zero gravity massage chair where you can get a deep, full body massage and relaxation. And they have infrared saunas where they offer hot detox yoga. And I was able to teach and lead one of those hot detox yoga sessions this year.
It's amazing. And being in the top 15 last year, that was just highly recognizable as well, because obviously there's how many in, behind you, in front of you, but it doesn't matter. I see everyone who's in a finalist in that respect. Everyone's a winner.
Absolutely. I was delighted every step of the way, because applying to become a HOTWORX virtual instructor was more of, I would love to do that. And I wasn't sure that I had the confidence to really push forward and make it to the finals. So each step forward was a celebration for me. I put in my application, they announced the top 40. And when I got the email that I was in the top 40, I felt like I had won. When I got the email that I was now in the top 15, again, I felt like I had won. And from the top 15, we get to meet in person at the HOTWORX convention with all of the studio owners, all of the franchisees, people who are there every day working their business and growing their business, plus the whole executive team and our CEO, Steve. He gets up and just really teaches and educates in a way that helps people want to be better. So that was an inspirational experience. And during that week that they are giving education to the franchisee owners, the top 15 are competing that whole time. So we got to teach live to all of the franchisees outside in the hot desert sun. It was, I think, 105 degrees the day that we taught outside. We also got to teach on stage, and we also had interviews that were just with the judges panel, and we delivered our choreographed segment to them as well. So every step of the way, I felt like I was gaining friends, I was gaining education, I was gaining inspiration. It was an amazing experience. And from the 15, they only take 7. And I didn't make the top 7, but I did have the benefit of being called back to film for SolSpa, which I was able to do in January. So this year, I'm going in with much more confidence. I want to be in that top 7 and be able to film for both brands.
And no doubt we wish you the best of luck for that.
Thank you so much.
Now, going to the future, how do you see meditation, Pilates, yoga? Do you think it's going to stay a steady, happy medium, or do you think it's going to progress more and people will learn more from it?
I think there is so much to learn from it. And as people become more curious about stress management, and once they experience these tools for themselves and develop that level of self-awareness, it's going to become more commonplace that these practices are just a part of what people do to stay healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, and to keep their immune systems well, to keep their bodies healthy, to keep their mind strong. All of those things come from these 3 practices.
And I hope it does, and hope people do take on board. And obviously, people can get in contact with you. How can people get in contact with you?
Yes, so the best way to find me is on Instagram. I'm at Roberta _ peaceful living. Full has 2 L's, so it's 3 L's all in a row. You can follow me there. I offer great tips through my reels, just on body movement, meditation, all of the things that I offer through Peaceful Living. You can also visit my website, which is peacefulliving.com. And I would love to offer your listeners a 30-day free trial to Peaceful Living, where you have access to on-demand content in Pilates, yoga, and meditation. Plus, you get me as your self-care success coach. And I love to create plans to help people figure out where they can put this in their life, where they can fit the time in, and how they can start to use these tools to manage and change their relationship to stress.
Last of all, what inspiration would you want to say to the listeners, viewers now to make them feel positive for the way forward?
So the biggest piece of inspiration that I can offer is to start where you are, because wherever you're beginning, you have so much room to create your own journey, to create the things that you want for yourself, and to take the steps needed and necessary to get there.
I absolutely agree. Roberta, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, David.
Thank you.
That was The Journey, hosted by Wise Words Imaging, hosted by David Hackett. Be sure to like, subscribe and listen to another journey coming soon.